हेल्थ एंड लाइफस्टाइल। मैं हमारे जो नेक्स्ट मॉडरेटर है शर्मी अधिकारी जी, निशांत आज़ाद जी, साथ में हमारे जो एक्सपर्ट है शीला कृष्णा स्वामी जी, जयवीर सिंह गोहिल और श्री अभिषेक चौधरी जी से मैं निवेदन करता हूं कि आप मंच पर आए और अपना स्थान ग्रहण करें। एक बार जोरदार तालियों से हमारे सभी एक्सपर्ट और हमारे जो मॉडरेटर है उन सभी का हम मंच पर स्वागत करते हैं।
Heard our governor, Shri Acharya Devrat ji, talk a lot about we are what we eat, and it is so important to eat the right kind of food. So we're going to center the discussion on the food that we eat and how food and fitness is interrelated. So my first question is to Sheila ji. Um, do you think people in India are eating well and they are eating the right kind of food, considering that children do get attracted to food that looks good, that necessarily might not be healthy or good to eat?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Charmi. Um, I think we have gone away from eating our traditional Indian foods, and although at sometimes it's not such a bad thing, but it's not always good either, because our food habits have changed so much, and we have started to copy the Western countries so much. We're eating much more ultra processed foods. We're eating less natural foods, and all of these changes are causing a lot of health problems. So we are not really eating right. We are not eating healthy. We are not eating on time, and we're not choosing the right foods. And as you rightly said, a lot of youngsters are getting attracted towards unhealthy, highly processed foods, which are which have more of non-nutrients than nutrients as ingredients. So yes, we have moved away from eating healthy traditional foods to a very modern, ultra-processed kind of unhealthy eating.
Talking about the right kind of food, Abhishek, you own a homegrown brand that does seasonal, that concentrates on seasonal produce. Tell us a bit about how seasonal food is important to the climate and culture of our country.
Hi. What lies at the center of Earth Story Farms is primarily two things. One is seasonality, and one is the other is indigenous. What is traditional and indigenous to the country? Uh, Seasonality is all about climate. What are the conditions that helps grow a certain kind of food or vegetables at that point of time, and that leads to the consumption. Uh, what has happened with commercialization and economies of scale and green revolution as such is that we've gone beyond seasonality, and now you would see that the colors of the bazaars or the markets don't change based on the seasons that you do. So that used to be one of my favorite pastimes as a child, to go to the market and see various colors of vegetables. Right now, you can see everything at every month of the season. So seasonality actually determines from seasonality what comes is what is the right kind of food to consume at that point of time. So there are certain kinds of vegetables and foods that are to be consumed during the summers. There are certain kinds of foods that are going to be consumed during the winters that are going to give you warmth in the body. I'll give you an example from our own perspective, from Earth Stories perspective. We do two types of jaggery. One is a date jaggery that's based out of date trees, and one is the palm jaggery that's based out of palm trees. So date jaggery is a winter jaggery. So this sap from the date trees that's collected in winter and that's converted into a jaggery. It is supposed to actually give your body warmth. Contradictorily, palm jaggery is a summer jaggery that we collect the sap in the summers, and that gives your body actually cools down your body. The palm or the tal mishri that we used to consume traditionally as a sweetener, that used to bring down the temperature of the body and cool the body, or act as a natural coolant. So that is what seasonality does to you.
Uh, Yuvraj Saab, you are a fitness enthusiast. And earlier, we had people going to the akhadas. Now people are going to the gym. I don't know whether to say it's unfortunate or it's a trend that has picked up. Gyms popularize the use of supplements, protein shakes. Do you recommend them, being a fitness enthusiast? And if not, then how does one incorporate what we eat in our daily life to remaining fit and going to the gym?
Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope I'm audible. Yeah. So I'll just start off by saying that instead of the 3 hours of screen time, we can dedicate 1 hour to fitness. That would be fantastic. To answer your question directly in regards to the gym and the akhada, I think we must have a mentality where we take best of both the worlds. If you have a akhada close to you, you must go. If you have a gym close to you, you must go. There's no reason not to go to the gym. It's only going to benefit you. What's important is how you train, and above all, what is your purpose to train. An individual like myself, because I'm in the fitness industry, I probably would go more than what the average individual would. But if someone, I'm presuming most of us in this audience, except for me, is from the medical background. Now, training clients, I've seen two fields where it's very, very difficult for them to find time to even enter a gym. And that is one, the police force, and the second is the medical field. Both are COVID warriors. And I absolutely understand that given your hectic time schedule. But like I said, if you have 3 hours for the phone, even if you dedicate half an hour, it might not be necessarily going to the gym. Even if you have a skipping rope at home, even if you have a spouse and you can dance with your spouse, just move, do some activity. And that is what is needed, because if you have a sedentary lifestyle, extremely stressed at the same time, it's not going to be good for you on your mental, emotional, or your physical health. And the latter part of your question, which is linked to protein shakes, protein supplements, absolutely I do take them. I'm not going to sit here and deny that. But there's a very big difference between knowing what a supplement is and what a whole food is. The name itself tells you that it's a supplement. You cannot rely on it. So, of course, people have a certain budget. You live within that budget. If you feel protein supplements are above your budget, do not sacrifice your finances to get protein supplements. Focus more on whole foods and let the protein shake come as a supplement. And I'm not a dietitian, but I think ma'am would elaborate more on that, and she's qualified too.
Sheila ji, he said he's recommending supplements, and you being a dietitian, what is your take on that?
As a dietitian, I would always say food first. Get all your nourishment from natural foods, whole foods, and include as much diversity in your diet as possible, and include all the food groups. And when you do that, you get all the nourishment necessary in the natural way. So you don't need any supplementation. Even if you walk for half an hour or you go to the gym and exercise for an hour, you don't need supplementation, because there is adequate amount of protein coming from foods when you take it naturally. But yes, we do recommend supplements for people who are deficient in protein, or maybe in clinical care where where patients are hospitalized, or they're not able to take sufficient food in quantity as well as quality. Yes, their supplementation might be necessary, not just protein, maybe even vitamins and minerals and so on. But we always take the food first approach, and then if it's absolutely essential, please meet a qualified dietitian, and she will tell you how much, or if at all, a supplement is necessary, and if it is necessary, how much of it is necessary.
अभी शीला जी, हम लोग जब साथ बैठे थे तो आप बता रही थी कि ICMR NIN की एक गाइडलाइन आई जिसमें उन्होंने बताया कि हाउ डेंजरस सप्लीमेंट्स आर. ठीक है, उन्होंने बताया उसमें कि कैसे हेल्थ के लिए जो है सप्लीमेंट्स अनहेल्दी है. एट द सेम टाइम जयवीर जी सेइंग कि वो सप्लीमेंट यूज़ करते हैं, लेकिन एक बजट के ऊपर, जिनके पास बजट है वही सप्लीमेंट यूज़ करें. आपकी अच्छी बॉडी है, आप प्रोटीन भी लेते हैं, सप्लीमेंट भी लेते हैं क्योंकि आपका बजट है. जिनको अच्छी बॉडी बनानी है और उनका बजट नहीं है, जो सप्लीमेंट नहीं ले सकते हैं, मतलब महंगे सप्लीमेंट्स नहीं खरीद सकते हैं, प्रोटीन नहीं खरीद सकते हैं अच्छी क्वालिटीज के, तो वो कैसे बॉडी बनाए? फिर तो उनकी बॉडी बनेगी ही नहीं।
Sir, मेरे हिसाब से, according to me, you all educated people here, the two reasons, according to me and from what I've learned from my seniors and from experts, it's not the protein supplements that is giving you your aesthetic look. It is your method of training, if you're training strength training, hypertrophy training. And second, it is your genetic makeup, your genes. So as far as I know, these are the two things that will give you your aesthetics. You can definitely have an aesthetic body without taking protein shakes. There's no doubt in that.
मेरा इसी से मिलता जुलता सवाल है कि अभी जिम कल्चर भारत में पिछले 2 दशक में बढ़ा है काफी। पहले अखाड़ा, जो मैडम ने कहा कि अखाड़ा कल्चर होता था, और पिछले 2 दशक में जिम कल्चर बढ़ा है। साथ ही जो है कि हर जगह, हर गली मोहल्ले में आप देखते होंगे कि जिम खुली है। ऐसे में क्या है कि हर कोई एक्सपर्ट ना होते हुए जिम ओनर बन रहा है, और उसके वजह से इंजरीज हो रही हैं, बाकी प्रॉब्लम्स हो रही है। तो कैसे, मतलब एक आम आदमी के लिए वो डिफरेंशिएट करे कि वो जिम जा भी सके, और इन सब जो जितने भी साइड इफेक्ट्स हैं, इंजरीज है, जो अदर प्रॉब्लम्स है, उससे कैसे बच सके वो?
सर, बात जब जिम ट्रेनर्स पे आती है और क्वालिफाइड जिम ट्रेनर्स, मेरे हिसाब से देश में ऐसी रेगुलेटरी बॉडी होनी चाहिए। अगर आप कंपेयर करेंगे यूरोपियन देशों में, यू हैव टू बी अ डिग्री होल्डर, बी इट इन द फील्ड ऑफ न्यूट्रिशन, डाइट और फिटनेस, टू बी एबल टू कोच समवन। हमारे देश में आप ऑनलाइन देख लेंगे, 3 हफ्ते में पर्सनल ट्रेनिंग का कोर्स हो जाएगा और उसको सैलरी मिल जाएगी जिम ट्रेनर की।
अभी तो रील्स में भी बॉडी बन जा रही है।
Reels है, और you have many people who preach on YouTube. Nothing wrong in that. But at the end of the day, as a customer or a client who's going somewhere else to acquire certain services, we must also have the common sense to realize that, is my body going to be able to perform this or no? What is my threshold going to be? And above all, what is my purpose for training? I think जब बात प्रोटीन शेक्स और उससे भी आगे जाकर अगर आप एनाबॉलिक स्टेरॉइड्स की करेंगे, मेरे हिसाब से this should be only for 2 people. One is people in the entertainment or film industry who need a different look every time. And mind you, they have the best of doctors and people guiding them, taking them through a medical procedure on how to take these supplements, flush them out through taking PCT, post-cycle therapy. So I would suggest no youngster to ever in their life even touch anabolic steroids, unless you've reached a level where it is your performance, and that is what is, feeding your family. For anyone like you or me, I think diet, nutrition comes first, और उसके बाद जैसे नाम है supplement, then supplementation.
Abhishek, following up from what Yuvraj Saab said, this whole mushrooming of gyms in every gully mohalla, similarly, like you open social media and you see brands saying that R produces organic and R produces artisanal, and the audience is baffled about who to believe and who not to believe. You think social media has actually spawned all kinds of brands trying to sell all kinds of things, and how does an ignorant person or somebody who doesn't have enough knowledge differentiate between the authentic and the spurious?
Well, that's slightly tricky coming from a social media perspective. It is true that there's a lot of clutter, there's a lot of noise, but it is also because we are the consumers of that content, we will have to take a call, or we will have to make a judgment on that, as to try and understand the claims that are being made. Can those claims be correct, authentic, or true? Then check for follow-up. Sorry. Check for follow-up documentation if someone's claiming as organic. So they would certainly have those certifications to prove those facts. As for us, we never claim ourselves to be organic. We've always stuck to the fact that we are chemical-free, preservative-free, and clean products. We focus on indigenous ingredients. So that is our claim, and we stick to that. So whatever promotions or promotional content or marketing content you'll see on our page will also be surrounding farmers, our indigenous stories, stories around ingredients and what those ingredients would lead to what sort of food products. So it will all be around that. We'll never be talking around things like organic, because we do not go to that extent. We do not make those claims. We only make claims that are realistic and that can be proven with paper.
You think that a kind of a government stamp or a government intervention actually legitimizes a brand much more? Like, how do you think a government can step into, to help in this process?
See, right now we do have government intervention or paperwork in the terms of Jaivik Bharat or Organic India. But the thing is, the certification should not be just a checklist. It should also be something that should be holistic and wholesome, and that should something that's actually doable and achievable. If I say, for example, that the date jaggery is organic, we never claim that because it's not a cultivable crop. The date jaggery the date trees grow in the wild. We make the collection, and then we make the jaggery in the most honest form possible. So that is the claim. Now, if there's a claim that the date jaggery, someone is claiming that such and such product is organic, then you will also have to think beyond the paperwork that, okay, if certain product is organic, then how is it possible, or is it actually possible or not? Say, for example, let's take a pickle. A pickle would have maybe 12 to 15 ingredients minimum to make that pickle. Now, if you're saying that the pickle is organic, what you're actually saying is that all those 15 ingredients from their source to the final product are organic. Now, you will also have to take a call as a consumer to think if that is realistic or not. That's my thing. Beyond regulation, that is a call that you as consumers would need to take.
Also, I think a lot of reading up and, Sheila ji, speaking about fakes, social media does, there is a danger of finding a lot of unnecessary noise, as Abhishek put it. So what is your take on that? Do you find that there is a increase in nutritionists, dietitians, brands, influencers, bloggers who say just about anything? And because in the end, in the process, is the health that is suffering, that youngsters just fall for it. Means how does one become more aware, and what are the checks and balances?
You're very right. There are a lot of nutritionists, so to speak, out there in India. And unfortunately, a lot of them are not qualified. There are qualified ones as well, but there are also unqualified ones who call themselves nutritionists. So today, anybody who knows how to cook and how to create some fancy food will call themselves nutritionists. She calls it a health restaurant, and she calls herself a nutritionist. So I think it's very important to differentiate between a qualified person and a not qualified person. A qualified person, of course, would have studied the basics of nutrition and dietetics, along with some of the other important subjects like physiology, anatomy, microbiology, biochemistry, psychology. A whole lot of other subjects are also there, food science included. Right? So all of these subjects go into the undergrad studies as well as postgraduate studies. So we study for about 4 to 5 years to start practicing as a dietitian or a nutritionist. So those are the qualified ones. But the unqualified ones are probably those who just do an online course for 4 weeks or 6 weeks or maybe even 3 months, and then they start doling out advice. But unfortunately, they make much more noise on the social media than we do, because we don't have the time to do all of that. We are so busy, in our own work and in our profession, that we don't find the time to make noise on social media. So if you come across somebody who is promising, miracles or any such thing on the social media, probably that person is not qualified, because nothing can work like a miracle. No single food can work like a miracle for any of the health problems. Right? Because it's always a synergy that happens with several foods. And today we talk about the importance of gut health and gut microbiome. So we know, although Ayurveda said this thousands of years ago, Today, even modern medicine is talking about gut health and gut microbiome and gut-brain axis, gut-heart axis, and a whole lot of other things. So we know that what we eat is important, but not just what we eat and how much we eat, the quality, the quantity of food, the variety, the time of eating, all of this, circadian rhythm, everything plays an important role. So somebody who just talks about one food being working like a miracle for everything is probably not qualified. So please question the person who claims to be a nutritionist, question that person's credibility, question that person's qualification, question that person's experience, knowledge, whatever it may be. And then if you're convinced, and I'm sure you would do the same thing if you were to go to a physician or a doctor, you would always check whether that physician is really knowledgeable, has a good reputation, works and has a lot of patience and all of that before you go to the doctor for treatment. So it has to be the same thing even with a dietitian or a nutritionist. Check for the credibility, check for authenticity before blindly following people on social media, because today there are so many unqualified people unfortunately giving wrong advice. They're actually playing on people's health. That's very, very unfortunate. So this is a serious menace that we need to tackle, and well, something has to be done about this, but I think we need to just segregate.
मेरा सवाल अभिषेक जी आपसे और जयवीर जी आप दोनों से है। हमने पिछले 2 दशक की अगर हम बात करें, 2 डिकेड्स, बाजार में कई ऐसे प्रोडक्ट्स आए जिन्होंने प्रॉमिस किया कि मैं एक छोटा सा उदाहरण लूंगा रिफाइंड ऑयल का। रिफाइंड ऑयल जब मार्केट में आ रहा था उस समय बताया गया कि उससे कैसे हार्ट हेल्दी रहता है, उसके कितने बेनिफिट्स हैं, तमाम चीज़ें। बट ओवर द ईयर्स अब ऐसी स्टडी निकल के आई जिसमें हमें पता चला कि हाउ हार्मफुल इट इज़। ठीक है, तो ऐसे में एक तरफ आपको एक बैड प्रोडक्ट दिया जाता है, दूसरी तरफ आपको अपने रूट्स की चीज़ें, लाइक आई विल टॉक अबाउट घी के बारे में एक कैंपेन चला जिसके बारे में बताया गया कि कैसे कोलेस्ट्रॉल बढ़ता है, कैसे उससे फैट होता है, तमाम चीज़ें होती है। तो एक तरफ घी को बैड माउथिंग करना, दूसरी तरफ रिफाइंड को प्रमोट करना, एक पूरा मार्केट था उसके ऊपर। तो अब जैसे दूसरा उदाहरण मैं मिलेट्स का लूंगा। अगेन वन मोर थिंग, जो आजकल सुपर सीड, हम लोग सभी सुन रहे हैं सुपर सीड और कितना महंगा हम लोग बाई कर रहे हैं। जो लोग गांव से हैं, रूरल से हैं, जिसको फ्लैक्स सीड कहते हैं हमारे गांव में, उसको तीसी बोलते हैं, और बहुत आसानी से उसकी खेती हो जाती है और बहुत सस्ते दामों में उपलब्ध होती है। अब वही सस्ती चीज़ आपको 100 ग्राम के डब्बे में, 200 ग्राम के डब्बे में 500-600 रुपए की बेची जा रही है और आप खरीद के उसको खा रहे हैं। तो ये जो एक मार्केट, जो बड़े प्लेयर्स हैं जो अपनी चीज़ों से आपको दूर करते हैं और उसके बाद वही चीज़ें जो बहुत आसानी से उपलब्ध होती है आपके लिए, हमारे लिए, उसको महंगे दाम पे बेचते हैं। ये जो पूरा एक इंटरनेशनल कह सकते हैं गेम है, इसको एक्सप्लेन करेंगे आप दोनों बारी बारी से।
देखिए, मार्केटिंग गिमिक तो है, लेकिन दैट गोज बैक टू द रूट्स ऑफ ग्रीन रेवोल्यूशन व्हेन वी स्टार्टेड, एंड इट इज अबाउट कमर्शियलाइजेशन एंड अचीविंग इकोनॉमीज ऑफ स्केल। जैसे आप अभी बोल रहे हो कि वो ट्रेडिशनल इंग्रेडिएंट्स अभी हमारे लिए एक्सपेंसिव हो गया है। एक्सपेंसिव इसलिए हो गया है बिकॉज इट हैज गॉन आउट ऑफ यूसेज एंड इट हैज ऑल्सो गॉन आउट ऑफ रेगुलर ग्रोइंग प्रैक्टिसेस। रेगुलर ग्रोइंग प्रैक्टिसेस में इंडिजिनस राइस वेराइटीज निकल गए हैं, दे आर नॉट बीइंग ग्रोन। Regular growing practices में millets were not being grown. Now, thankfully, with all of the superfood thing and government's intervention on millets, millets are making a comeback. So महंगी इस वजह से हो गई है क्योंकि अभी तो ग्रो हो ही नहीं रही है, so grow कराना पड़ रहा है। So then once again it goes back to that volume and scale. Again it is going to come, the prices are going to again normalize. But yes, our foods have been taken away from us, that is true, with concerted marketing campaigns जहाँ बोला गया कि mustard oil is harmful, ghee is harmful, and we were markets were flooded with refined oil, sunflower oil and things like that. Now funnily, ghee is clarified butter, and the West has woken up to the wonder of ghee, and people are consuming ghee in various forms. Coffee and ghee in the morning has become one of the most sought after fads right now, and they are calling our ghee clarified butter. It's still ghee. So yeah, the ghee has become a superfood now even for the West. which is funny. क्योंकि for a long period of time we were told कि नहीं घी भी खराब है, mustard oil भी खराब है. Now we've come back a full circle and we know that no, this was हमेशा से सही था and आज भी सही है.
I think the West excels in stealing our ideas, our original ideas, packaging them, giving them fancy Western names and selling it back to us. I think it is our lack of awareness and ignorance that we fall for that gimmick. You see, turmeric latte is nothing but haldi doodh. And there are so many things like that. Like they are using names like pancakes for dosas. So this thing needs to be busted. It all belongs to us.
Yeah, but it's also an inclination on our part to be leaning more towards
aping the
what
West.
gets promoted from the West.
Yeah.
But once we start realizing that the gems that we have here, the indigenous ingredients, indigenous produce, whether be millets or the indigenous rice varieties, the vegetables, the diversity and the produce that we have here, if we had a little more faith on it rather than leaning blindly towards the West, it would not be so easy to sell it to us. While they sold it to us, we also bought it.
Javed, I want to know your take on this क्योंकि हम सभी जानते हैं कि like in Haryana, those who goes to अखाड़ा, तो वो घी का कितना इस्तेमाल करते हैं, दूध का कितना इस्तेमाल करते हैं. तो ये जो हमने अभी बात की कि एक कंसेप्ट बनाया गया कि हाउ अनहेल्दी घी इज, व्हाट इज योर, और आपके डाइट में घी कितना महत्वपूर्ण है या नहीं है?
So every meal of mine is actually cooked in ghee since I was 4 or 5 years old. So, but that again, it was accessible. That is the first point, the accessibility and the affordability. And that gets me back to the point that Abhishek mentioned very well. I'll just add on to it and bring in the third point of using Instagram, social media, and influencers. I think over the course of post-COVID, you will see a lot of brands like Abhishek's. You have other brands coming up. I think somewhere if these influencers who are in, millions of following and who preach a lot to people and people practice what they preach, I think getting these people onto such brands would be the best way and the shortest way to get these products, traditional products, to the masses. That is something which we try with the Akhada culture as well, by promoting and manufacturing those tools. So I think the point that you said about social media is very true. And ma'am also highlighted it, there are people who are not qualified. But while that is true, I think the best way to tackle it is through that itself, to make these people the brand ambassadors of these traditional brands, get them on board, and at the end of the day, they will feel a sense of pride if you're bringing them in. I think number one is people across different social classes need to communicate and have that unity that we want businesses in our country to flourish.
Sheila ji, there are so many misconceptions regarding superfoods, good foods, dieting, fasting, intermittent fasting. Please try and bust some, at least.
Well, if I had the whole evening for this, I could probably use a couple of hours to bust myths on nutrition. But can I just ask the audience, with your permission?
I think that
Yeah, so can one of you name one or two myths related to nutrition that you might have heard or you might believe in? Anybody? Any nutritional myths? No? Wow.
शीला जी पूछना चाह रही हैं कि आप में से कोई ऐसी चीजों के बारे में सुना है जिसको हम मिथ मानते थे लेकिन वो फैक्ट में कुछ और है. मतलब मिथ, वैसे तो मिथ का मतलब ये होता है कि जो सच है लेकिन हम उसको मानते नहीं हैं. लेकिन यहाँ पे है कि जैसे अभी घी के बारे में बात हो रही थी कि घी हमारे लिए हेल्दी है, और वो कॉन्सेप्ट आया कि वो कैसे अनहेल्दी है और आपने उसको मान लिया कि अनहेल्दी है. तो आप में से किसी ने ऐसा कुछ एक्सपीरियंस किया है क्या?
जैसे आप लोगों ने सुना होगा कि सब वीगन डाइट्स कर रहे हैं और केटो डाइट्स अपना रहे हैं, तो आप लोग पूछ सकते हैं शीला जी से कि क्या वीगन डाइट्स असल में काम करते हैं या केटो डाइट्स, डू दे एक्चुअली वर्क?
That actually, let's start with that question, if that's okay with you. Yeah. So yes, I'll answer this in two parts. One is keto and one is vegan. Let me begin with keto diets. Keto diets, ketogenic diets, that's the full form, are actually prescribed for people who have epilepsy. In children, especially who have epilepsy, ketogenic diets are given to them because their brain function improves and they are able to arrest or, to some extent, it's not a cure for epilepsy, but it definitely helps in control. But it became so popular for some reason that everybody who wanted to lose weight started to go on a ketogenic diet, which is a lot of protein, immense amount of protein, immense amount of fat, and very, very low in carbohydrates. So the change in the food intake pattern itself started to help the people to lose weight to some extent. So I'm not saying it didn't work. It did work in some people. So they were on a very high fat, high meat kind of a diet plan with very low amount of rice and wheat and millets and things like that. So it started to work initially, but then a lot of people started to also experience other health problems. Because as a lot of you might know already that meats, especially the red meats, are very high in saturated fat and cholesterol and things like that. So that started to actually affect a lot of people's health, and they fell off the keto diet, went back to normal eating, and then they started to gain weight all over again. So none of these fancy diets or fad diets work in the long run. They just remain a temporary benefit. They give a temporary benefit, but in the long run, they're not sustainable. They do not provide all the nutrients that are necessary for the body to function normally, and they can actually promote health problems in on a long-term basis. Coming to vegan diets, I think when you compare keto and vegan, I would definitely say vegan is a much better choice. But although it is not it's not mandatory for everybody to be vegan. Veganism basically is a choice. Veganism did not exist, as far as my knowledge goes. Veganism did not exist in India because although a lot of us might be vegetarians in India, we still take dairy foods. So when I say vegan diet or vegan food is nothing but avoiding all animal products. So that's meat, egg, fish, chicken, dairy, milk, curd, everything. And that is not a part of our culture because we've always had milk or curd or buttermilk or ghee or butter in some form, paneer, all of these foods in some form or the other. Dairy has always been a part of our meals, a wholesome meal. And even when we do perform pujas and things like that, we always have a little bit of dahi or doodh or something like that in the puja, the performance, right? So we've always used this. So veganism is a very, I would say, Western culture which came into existence maybe a few decades ago, and which we have started to use. Although by and large, if the foods are chosen carefully and eaten, planned, if the meal plan is good, balanced well, it can be fairly healthy. Although there is always a deficiency in vitamin B12 in a vegan diet, because vitamin B12 is obtained only through animal origin foods, right? So we normally say that if you're on a vegan diet, you will have to take a supplement, although you may not like it, but you might have to take a supplement, especially for vitamin D and vitamin B12 and things like that, which we are already deficient in India, and a lot of us are. So, I mean, the choice is, again, like I said, it's an individual choice whether one wants to be a vegan or not, but it's not absolutely essential to be a vegan. So please don't blindly follow any kind of diets just because it's on social media.
So then there's thing about intermittent fasting, which has been there. Our ancestors used to do it, but suddenly, since it's a fad, it's a trend, and the West is doing it, so everybody has picked it up.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about it.
So again, coming to fasting, traditionally, India has always believed in fasting. We have our Ekadasi and, which we follow every 15 days. We have also festival-related fasting, season-related fasting. There's so many reasons and beliefs that exist in relation to fasting, which I think for generations we have followed in India, and it has worked very well. So as long as we're doing it the proper way, it does help. Because this, I mean, in fact, I think the autophagy, even the discovery or discovery, I should say, or explanation of autophagy even got a Nobel Prize for the person who who researched on autophagy, right? So yes, it does help to a great extent. And coming to intermittent fasting, there are again 2-3 different types of intermittent fasting. How do I put it? It's, yes, it might be beneficial in the short term. There are a lot of studies being done on intermittent fasting, and not just weight management, but also type 2 diabetes and heart disease and all of that. There is, it is believed that there is better gut health with intermittent fasting. The gut microbiome improves with intermittent fasting. There's autophagy. There is better control of blood glucose. There is better control of weight and all of that. Yes, it does help. So there are studies which show the positive of it, but there are also studies that show that it may not help when done over a long period of time. So that is why our ancestors always did fasting only for a short period of time. I mean, it was not for a long period of time, right? So I think as long as we follow that, even if it is intermittent fasting in a short period of time, it will help. But please do that under the supervision of a qualified healthcare professional, not on your own, because even in that window of 12 hours or 10 hours or 8 hours that you're eating, the foods have to be well balanced and nutritious. So if you say you're doing intermittent fasting and take all kinds of highly processed and junk foods in that 8-hour window, it's not going to help at all. So it has to be done methodically and in a proper manner.
अभिषेक, यू आर वर्किंग ऑन फार्म टू लैंड कॉन्सेप्ट, और अभी शीला जी बता रही थी कि इंडिया का क्या ट्रेडिशन रहा है, ट्रेडिशनली हम लोग क्या क्या किस तरीके से चीज़ें करते आए हैं. अगर हम लोग वर्तमान में बात करें तो अगर अक्रॉस द वर्ल्ड देखें तो मोस्ट ऑफ द नेशंस आर वन वेदर नेशंस, राइट. और इंडिया में मल्टीपल वेदर कंट्री है. साथ ही क्या है कि ज्योग्राफी के हिसाब से हमारा फूड डिफर करता है. श्रीनगर का अलग है, नॉर्थ ईस्ट का अलग है, बिहार यूपी का अलग है. तो ऐसे में जो होता था कि हर रीजन का अपना एक फूड कल्चर है, साथ ही हर फूड का एक सीजन है, राइट. अगर हम बात करें कि ककम्बर की बात करें, खीरा जिसको हम लोग कहते हैं, कि वो एक सीजन में होता है पर्टिकुलर, लेकिन अब हम लोग देखते हैं कि वो आपको ऑल वेदर वेजिटेबल में हो गया है, जिससे हम पाते हैं कि जो ओरिजिनल टेस्ट है दैट इज मिसिंग ऑल्सो. और मुझे नहीं पता उसमें न्यूट्रिशन और बाकी चीज़ें जो होती है उसमें कमी होती है कि नहीं, फिर भी अगर मैं टेस्ट की ही बात करूँ तो वो ओरिजिनली टेस्ट नहीं कर रहा होता जैसा उस किसी पर्टिकुलर सीजन का ककम्बर टेस्ट करता है. तो ये जो एक कल्चर अभी हमने अडॉप्ट किया या जो ओवर द ईयर्स ग्रो हो रहा है कि कोई भी चीज़ 12 मास, जो हम लोग कहते हैं कि सभी महीनों में वो मिलना, चाहे किसी भी चीज़ के ले लीजिए, आप ऑरेंज ले लीजिए, कोई भी प्रोडक्ट है अभी वो 12 मास मिल रहा है. तो ये एक तो हम अपनी चीज़ खो रहे हैं कि कोई भी चीज़ है जो एक पर्टिकुलर टाइम में ही हो रही है, उसको अब हम जानबूझ कर उसको सभी सीजन में कर रहे हैं, कह सकते हैं मार्केट का डिमांड है उसको, लेकिन उसमें कितना बड़ा नुकसान हो रहा है, इस पे आप थोड़ा बात.
नुकसान तो लॉन्ग टर्म है, क्योंकि ये जो आप बोल रहे हैं कि अभी वो टेस्ट नहीं आ रहा है. सो ओवर द पीरियड ऑफ टाइम द सीड जो यूज़ किया जा रहा था वो सीड चेंज हो गया है. राइट नाउ अभी जो सीड यूज़ हो रहा है वो भी एक हाइब्रिड सीड है, इसी वजह से वो थ्रू आउट द ईयर ग्रो कर पा रहे हैं फार्मर्स, है ना. द सेकेंड रीजन वाई वी आर एबल टू मेक दीज थिंग्स अवेलेबल, अभी सिर्फ क्यूकम्बर नहीं है, गाजर है, कॉलीफ्लावर है, पीज तो है ही. सो दीज आर अवेलेबल थ्रू आउट द ईयर. नाउ देयर आर टू थिंग्स, वन कि सीड्स चेंज हो गए इसलिए ग्रोइंग साइकिल्स भी चेंज हो गए, तो कभी भी ग्रो कर सकते हैं. दूसरा है कि अभी स्टोरेज कॉन्सेप्ट है. So what you're getting now in summers was actually grown in the winter and stored for you to be sold in the summers. So ये आपको भी it again comes down to the consumer. इसलिए मैंने first जो question शर्मी ने किया था on seasonality, तो seasonality and ecology का जो concept है कि आपने जो कहा कि the country is diverse in terms of its ecology, हर एक जगह का अलग weather है, अलग geography है, तो उसके हिसाब से जो food है that is the only food that's perfect for you actually. And कोई एक ऐसा फूड नहीं है which you can actually consume throughout the year. Seasonal food इसीलिए है कि because it comes along with the season, it comes along with the temperature when it is being consumed, और उसके खुद के कुछ advantages हैं कि when you are consuming cauliflower and carrots in winter, it has its own advantages, and when you are consuming the vegetables that are available in summer, उसके खुद के कुछ advantages हैं. So once you break that cycle, then you are into a long-term problematic space, and unless and until you come back to the concept of seasonality, you'll not be able to break that cycle. तो हमारा कोशिश वही है कि we explain seasonality to the consumer. हमें भी आता है कि ये आपके पास अभी क्यों अवेलेबल नहीं है, ये वाला प्रोडक्ट क्यों नहीं है. सो उसका खुद का सीजन है जब ये बनता है. सो उसके वो सीजन के बाहर अगर हम बनाएंगे then we are not true to the product, और प्रोडक्ट भी अच्छे से बनेगा नहीं. So you'll not get the authentic taste of it, and वो cucumber वाला कहानी बन जाएगा. So we also have a responsibility to explain to the consumers the concept of season, the seasonality, what's available when, what is actually grown when, because we have become so urban and we have become so supermarket to refrigerator, we have lost the concept of seasonality completely. तो हमें अभी नहीं पता कि कौन सी चीज़ किस सीजन में ग्रो किया जाता था. So it is our responsibility as brand owners to make the consumers aware once again, and also for the consumers to make a few conscious choices.
Abhishek, this, like, you know, since you've been talking about how conscious choices are important in terms of eating well, so what are the ways you think the government can rope in small entrepreneurs to popularize better food products that use fresh seasonal produce? What policies do you think can be effective so that, you know, more farmers and entrepreneurs are enthused to set up small ventures that specializes in seasonal produce? You know, a lot of people think that, you know, it's seasonal and it's a small brand and इनका packaging ऐसा है, तो देखो expensive भी ज़्यादा है. If the government comes in to the picture, do you think the cost factor is going to be balanced?
In just a silo, I don't think so, but as a value chain, there will be multiple factors that will contribute to the final cost of the product. I do work with the government a lot in terms of rural economies, handling rural livelihood missions and all. I've been a mentor at the national level, so I do work a lot with state rural livelihood missions and such. So they are doing a good work of. What government can do is help us liaise and connect with the farmer producer companies, farmer producer organizations, the self-help groups, the clusters. The cluster-based programs are being popularized by the government right now, and that's a great approach. If that is being done, there's a certain economy of scale that the farmers can achieve, and also we as entrepreneurs can achieve, and we can do a lot if government plays that liaisoning role between the farmer and the entrepreneur. So that's a certain role that can be played. In terms of costs being reduced, I think it's something that will happen in the longer run as the value chain is optimized further. And once these crops, these newer the produces that we have actually forgotten and that are making a comeback right now, once they attain a certain volume and we see a certain steady demand in the market, once that's stabilized and balanced, and we are able to optimize the entire value chain in terms of the produce to the final product to the last mile delivery to the consumer, once that is done, I think prices are going to come down in the longer run. I wouldn't get into the space of being expensive or cheap because that's a relative concept. What we at Earth Story Farms has always focus is, one is fair trade, that we ensure that our artisans and farmers are getting the right price for whatever they are growing and producing. And at the same time, what we ensure for the consumers is that they get value for their money.
Jaiviraj, you belong to a royal family. How do you think youngsters can actually take a leaf out of, you know, aristocratic families who were into old school processes of fitness and ways of fitness, and also how can these families work towards improving the fitness aspect of youngsters by working at the grassroots level?
Definitely. I think I would personally put more emphasis on what we can give back. rather than what they can learn, because people, besides culture and tradition, there's not much of physical training that one has to offer, because that also links back to tradition and culture somewhere down the line. But I think anyone in a position of privilege can 100% contribute. And specifically speaking, we can definitely have public-private partnerships at an extremely grassroots level. Ma'am, in our country, we tend to recognize talent after the age of 15, 16. And then we complain कि Olympics में medal नहीं आ रही है. So if that same talent other countries are recognizing at the age of 4, 5, and 6, that's almost a decade before us. So I think at a really, really grassroots level, rural India, that is where, you know, individuals, industries, where you use your corporate social responsibility or CSR funds. I think a lot of CSR funding should be done to these rural areas in terms of sports, in terms of health, be it nutrition, be it diet supplementation. And I also feel that people from the sports background must be involved in this very, very actively. People from the elder generation who've played nationally, played internationally, because we must make it a point to try and remove, you know, the politics, who's going to be the director, who's going to be the president. It is irrelevant. We will all flourish. The image of the country, which everyone is concerned about, will only go when you actually start doing the groundwork. Otherwise, you can't keep chest thumping your entire life. You will look really, really foolish with that. So I think at an extremely grassroots level, say class 2, class 3, that is when the real help is needed. Majority of the smaller districts in Gujarat, they do not have accessibilities to such institutes where they can learn about the performance that their human body can go to. Again, at a sports level, after class 10, after class 12, there are some fantastic facilities in the state. But like I mentioned, who are you competing with? At international level, you're competing with a country like China or USA. They've been training their youth probably a decade and a half before us. So no matter how much money you pour in, then it's too late because they've maximized the time back then.
We have some questions from the audience for Sheila ji. So somebody asked, is a vegetarian diet good, or is a vegetarian diet better than a non-vegetarian diet?
That's a tricky question to answer. I don't know who asked this. I would actually probably would have loved to know if this person who asked the question is a vegetarian or a meat eater. But never mind, I'm not going to point fingers now. In some ways, actually in many ways, yes. That's why plant-based food, plant-forward food, a plant-forward diet, vegetarianism, all of that is coming in a very big way in the Western countries. Again, as you said, Sharmi, earlier, that the West actually has borrowed ideas from us, and we are, you know, kind of relearning what we had unlearned some years ago. We're relearning from them. So yes, in a number of ways, we say that vegetarian diet is far better than a totally non-vegetarian diet, because of the reason that we have a lot of fiber, dietary fiber in a vegetarian diet. We can get adequate proteins also in a vegetarian diet. There is plenty more unsaturated fat, particularly the omega-3, omega-6, all of that is present in a vegetarian diet. On the other hand, there is no dietary fiber in a non-vegetarian, well, in a animal-based diet, animal food-based diet, and there is also much more saturated fat and cholesterol coming from those foods. So by and large, if you take it holistically, yes. But a vegetarian, having said that, I'm not saying that one should not eat, fish or whatever it may be, because regionally, if you look at our country, we are so diverse. In the north, especially, we were talking about it a little earlier, in states like Kashmir, they do eat meat in good quantity, because that is the weather condition that prevails there. That is what is available there. So again, in the coastal region like Kerala, Goa, coastal Karnataka, all of these regions,
Bengal.
There is Bengal, yes. All of these regions eat a lot of fish because it is sustainable, it is available, it is also cheap to buy and eat that food. and it's a part of that culture. So it's great to include that food, but what we say nutritionally is there is not enough fiber coming from these kind of foods. So yes, you can take non-veg foods twice or thrice a week if it is a part of your tradition, if it is a part of your custom and your regular diet. But don't make it a habit to add only meats in all your meals. Try and include a lot of plant-based foods also, which are important. And we also have dairy in our vegetarian diets in India, right? So a vegetarian diet can become very unhealthy if we go overboard with sugar and fat and salt, what we call HFSS, that is high salt, high sodium, and high sodium, high sugar, and high fat. So if we take too much of these, even with a vegetarian diet, that can also become unhealthy and it can lead to several health problems. So how you eat and what you eat, and again, I go back to the same words again and again, the quantity and the quality and diversity of your diet is very important.
I think we have time for just one more question. So somebody asked.
Me or someone else?
No, to you.
Me? Okay.
Somebody asked, do non-vegetarian food absorb nutrients better than vegetarian food? Because a trend is now on that plant-based foods are not effective in absorbing nutrients as much as non-vegetarian foods do.
This, I think, is one of the myths. I'm glad you asked this question. It's not true that vegetarian diets do not help absorb nutrients. Yes, there are some anti-nutritional factors like phytates and tannins and things like that. Phytates, in fact, are present in a lot of vegetarian plant-based foods, but a lot of them get destroyed during processing, especially when you sprout the foods, the grains, when you cook, when you soak, when you steam. That process of cooking actually removes and reduces the anti-nutritional factors that is present in foods. So therefore, they become unavailable, and they do allow the absorption of micronutrients. Secondly, I think this question might also be related to iron absorption and assimilation in the diet, because we know that in a vegetarian diet, the iron absorption is much less than in a non-vegetarian diet. But having said that, a vegetarian who has some iron content or foods that contain iron in the diet, if he or she also includes vitamin C rich foods, vitamin C helps to absorb iron in the body. So these kind of combined foods is very useful and provides all the nutrients necessary. Let me give you a very quick example. Suppose you're eating, let's say, an amaranth curry. Amaranth, is, what do you call amaranth in... Okay, in Kannada, we call it dantin soppu. I don't know if there are any Kannada-speaking people here. I'm from Bangalore. We call it dantin soppu. I don't know what amaranth. Okay, let's say palak. Okay, palak is better known, I think. So palak or methi, when you're eating the leaves, they are rich in iron, right? Drumstick leaves, palak, methi, all of these. But the absorption might not be very good till you give some vitamin C to it. So after making the sabji or the curry, what do you do at the end? You sprinkle some nimbu on it, right? So that way you're getting the vitamin C to help absorb the iron in the body. So yes, there are many ways, and our traditional ways of cooking already has it in them that there are great nutritional nutrients and present in vegetarian food, which can be absorbed and assimilated in the body to give you nourishment. And I think, we have had several generations of vegetarians in our country who have lived long and lived well. And if you do have any more questions, I'd like to add one last sentence. If you do have any more questions or myths that you believe in, please contact Dr. Richa Soni, who heads she is the head of the department. I'm sure all of you know that she's the head of the Department of Foods and Nutrition in Gujarat University, and she's also a great nutritionist. So you have all the answers here right under your nose, so to speak.
So as we are running out of time, we have lots of questions to ask, but ये हम closing remark भी और last questions है जयवीर जी आपसे और अभिषेक जी आपसे सुनेंगे कि हम कहते हैं ना कि क्या मंत्रा हो सकता है कि हेल्दी लाइफ स्टाइल के लिए और फिट रहने के लिए, कम शब्दों में और युवाओं के लिए क्या संदेश देंगे आप दोनों प्लीज।
मेरे लिए तो वही रहेगा, ईट लोकल, ईट सीजनल, eat fresh, and focus on quality rather than quantity, and try to go back to the roots, respect the ingredient, respect the indigenous traditional ingredients that we have had, seasonality, local, fresh, quantity over quality over quantity.
मैं मंत्र नहीं बोलूंगा, बस इतना ही बोलूंगा क्योंकि सब डॉक्टर्स हैं यहाँ पे, मेडिकल फील्ड से हैं। अगर कोविड-19 महामारी ने आपको ये नहीं सिखाया है कि आपकी हेल्थ कितनी महत्वपूर्ण है, तो मैं ईश्वर से प्रार्थना करता हूं आपके लिए।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। A balanced lifestyle is key to long-term health and well-being. मैं सभी हमारे एक्सपर्ट्स, उन्होंने अपने विचार साझा किए, सभी का तहे दिल से धन्यवाद। मैं आमंत्रित करूंगा डॉक्टर ऋचा सोनी, असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर, वे मंच पर आए और शर्मी अधिकारी जी का स्वागत बहुमान करे। शर्मी अधिकारी जी लाइफस्टाइल राइटर, मूवी बफ एंड कन्वर्सेशनलिस्ट, ऑलमोस्ट 2 decades in the media. She worked with Indian Express and India Today. एक बार जोरदार तालियों से शर्मी जी का स्वागत। मैं आमंत्रित करूंगा श्री राकेश पांडे जी, CMD ग्लोबल ब्रेवो हेल्थकेयर ग्रुप अहमदाबाद। आपसे निवेदन है, आप शीला कृष्णा स्वामी जी, रिनाउंड न्यूट्रिशन एंड वेलनेस कंसल्टेंट, जोरदार तालियों से शीला जी का स्वागत। शीला जी इज रजिस्टर्ड डाइटिशियन with over 40 years of professional experience in the clinical, corporate and communication spaces. Currently, she is as nutrition and wellness consultant and works independently as an advisor. एक बार जोरदार तालियों से उनका भी स्वागत। अब मैं आमंत्रित करूंगा डॉक्टर संजय जोशी जी का, एडिशनल कलेक्टर हैं और ऑफिसर ऑन स्पेशल ड्यूटी गांधी आश्रम पर अपना दायित्व वहन कर रहे हैं। आपको निवेदन है कि श्री जयवीर राज सिंह गोहिल का स्वागत करें। जयवीर राज सिंह गोहिल जी एक रिनाउंड होटेलियर एंड फिटनेस कंसल्टेंट with a background in hospitality and health. He serves as the director of Neelam Bagh Palace in Bhavnagar. His passion for fitness also led him to serve as the former president of the Indian Bodybuilder Federation. बहुत बहुत स्वागत है जयवीर जी आपका। अब मैं आमंत्रित करना चाहूंगा डॉक्टर विक्रम रावल, असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर, अपने घर के इसलिए थोड़ी और जोर से आवाज। श्री अभिषेक जी चौधरी जी का वे स्वागत करें, फाउंडर एंड CEO अर्थ स्टोरी फार्म्स कोलकाता। तहे दिल से अभिषेक जी का स्वागत है, ऑर्गेनाइजर वीकली और गुजरात यूनिवर्सिटी के इस मंच पर। अब यहां पर ये सेशन कंप्लीट हो रहा है और आने वाला अंतिम सत्र, यानी कि मैं सभी मंचस्थ महानुभावों से निवेदन करता हूं, कृपया आपने अपने अच्छे विचार साझा किए, उसके लिए तहे दिल से धन्यवाद।